How did I end up here? Lying in your arms, watching city lights burn the stars.
All information is current as of this patch. So, you will love Venture, eh? Well, have I got news for you. You could have chosen a better damage hero to main. Being the first new damage hero in Overwatch 2 since Sojourn back on the game's release, we've only had new support and tank heroes since then. Venture is easily one of the most fun new additions too, both in terms of gameplay and actual character. Similar to past heroes like Iliari and Lifeweaver, Venture is an entirely new addition to cast, not having appeared in any sort of lore before, unlike the previous new hero, Mauna, so there's not much to cover on that front. However, for a few small things we do know, Sloan Cameron, their real name, was based in Petra, Jordan as part of a group called the Wayfinder Society, where one day they just happened to dig down into some kind of facility housing an Anubis-like statue. The Anubis-esque discovery as shown in Venture's introduction trailer was super cool because we've known about the Anubis entity in the lore for a while, a sort of hostile god program that started Overwatch's infamous Omnic Crisis, so seeing another instance of it might mean we're finally getting some progress in the story of Memes aside, though that thing just is super unfortunate, Venture's inclusion also marks two firsts for Overwatch. The first being that they're the first Canadian-Mexican hero, and the second being that they're non-binary, identifying as they-them. A quick note on that, it's okay to make mistakes when it comes to Venture's gender. They are a brand new character after all, but don't go out of your way to do it on purpose. No need to be a dick, you know. I will admit, I have misgendered them a few times in my streams for their trial run, and for that I am genuinely sorry. I am just very stupid most of the time. Well, all the time. But regardless, how about we get into the real meat and potatoes of this brand new damage hero, aka the reason you're watching this video to begin with. First off, here is the source I use for Venture's damage numbers, plus the ones I use for the lore. And second, before we get into their main kit, here are their passive abilities. And your eyes aren't deceiving you, they do indeed have 3 passives. Insane. But for clarity, the top and middle passives are the most important here and will be covered in tandem with other things. After all, who's better to teach you about DPS than a hard stuck silver plate that's not supposed to be on the screen? Oh, and sorry about the nasally sounding voice, allergies be damned. Thanks to both Akize and Never Explains for helping me get clean examples of the kit. Step 1 on how to become an expert archaeologist is to be familiar with your kit. Well, maybe not step 1, that might be further down the list, but shut up. So anyway, the first part of this eccentric explorer's kit is the Smart Excavator, aka their primary fire, the main form of dealing damage. The Excavator shoots projectile-based shots with a pretty slow firing rate of 1.3 shots per second, dealing 25 damage for a direct hit and between 13.5 and 45 damage for the explosion, with a radius of 2.75 meters that triggers after a measly 16 meters. For reference, Roadhog's chain hook ability has a max range of 21 meters, which, all things considered, isn't a huge distance, so as you can imagine, you're going to have to play fairly up close to the enemy to do any significant damage. Granted, 16.5 meters isn't unreasonable, but the shots also have a fall-off range of 1 to 3 meters, so just play Venture like you would a hero like Reaper, in close combat. In fact, the entirety of Venture's kit is close combat orientated, which is why I want to bring specific attention to their melee. Typically, I wouldn't cover a hero's melee, as every hero, barring Junker Queen's slightly more powerful one, deals 40 damage. Venture though is similar to the just mentioned Junker Queen, where they have a slightly more powerful melee attack, and this is actually where the Clobber passive comes into play. Overall, a melee from Venture will do 70 damage, 30 damage for the initial impact, and an extra 40 damage over time, by the time the animation ends. Because of this, it's one of the slowest melees in the game at 0.7 seconds. This one's a lot of fun, honestly, because it feels really satisfying to land and can serve as a good combo with the primary fire, either starting the combo or ending it, usually the latter in my case. It also has a great combo potential with Venture's first ability, Drill Dash. With Drill Dash, you might as well be playing Mr. Driller, because upon use, you'll dash forward in whatever direction you're facing, pushing enemies back around 14.5 meters, 10.15 meters for tanks, while doing an overall 100 damage, with 40 on the first hit and an extra 60 over another 0.4 seconds, so long as you keep the enemies in its travel line. It has a cooldown of 8 seconds while lasting for 0.4 seconds, has a max range of 10 meters, and even increases your movement speed by upwards of 20 meters per second. It's interesting though, because that movement speed increase can vary, with it reducing to 12 meters per second when you're facing up, or 14.5 meters a second if anyone's caught in its trajectory. Because of this, it's great for getting out of there if things go awry, or for reaching higher ground and such. If you took note of that knockback mention, you can bet your sweet Overwatch coins that it's super fun to get environmental eliminations with, which is when you knock, push, pull whatever enemies off the map. I may be pure doo-doo when it comes to getting enviros with Lunar, but I think I might have a chance with Adventure Mafia. Maybe. Shame I still can't deal with winners though. Given Drill Dash's pretty good damage number, as mentioned, it's great to combine with the melee, with a combo doing 170 total damage, enough to almost take out a Tracer and do significant damage to other targets. However, as basic math would suggest, if you then follow up the combo or start the combo with the primary fire, it's then enough to eliminate most heroes. The only exceptions being heroes with more than 250 health, so the ones you see on screen right now. But of course, you can just follow up with another shot from your smart Excavator, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue really. And if that's not enough, maybe you can begin the combo with Venture's second ability, Burrow. Burrow is pretty neat, having Venture, well, burrow their way underground, as if they were Terrafin from the hit 2011 game Skylanders Spirals Adventure. I pray to mastery or one of you knows what the hell I'm talking about. Childhood nostalgia tangent aside, Burrow deals between 75 and 110 damage with a max charge, and between 37.5 and 55 damage with a minimum charge, depending on how close enemies are to the emerging radius. The fall off range also depends on the charge, between 2.5 to 7.5 meters on max and 1.4 to 4 meters on minimum charge, with it taking 0.7 seconds to burrow and 0.6 seconds to emerge, having a cooldown of 8 seconds. The duration of the burrow before you're forced out lasts 4 seconds, and you have an increased plus 40% movement speed buff, so it can be good for escaping precarious situations, especially since you're completely invulnerable while underground, similar to Mauner's overrun ability, I guess you could say. You can actually activate this ability mid-air, and it always looks pretty funny, especially from a great height. A few things to know about Burrow. First, it will replenish your ammo count, much like Reaper's Wraith ability, and similar to that, it cleanses any negative effects, such as anti-heal from Anna's Bionade or burning from Ash's Dynamite or Mauner's Chain Guns. It can also unstick certain projectiles like Tracer's Pulse Bomb. And yes, completely invulnerable does indeed mean that, no exceptions. Of course, you're not invulnerable during the animation of Burrow, only when you're underground, and it can't be used in Mauner's Cage Fight ultimate, but it can be used to dig through it if you were outside when your ult went off. You can even use Drill Dash when burrowed, which will actually half the cooldown of the former by half, down to 4 seconds. But be careful, as burning through both cooldowns so quickly could end you up in some serious trouble. So use Drill Dash at the beginning of Burrow and wait out the duration. If that's not enough, go for the max charge when emerging to buy yourself a little more time. Now, there is something important to note about both of Venture's abilities, and that's the Explorer's Resolve passive. Upon use of either main ability, you'll gain an extra 40 shields, and this can stack up to an extra 75 shields, leaving you with a max 325 overall health. The shields will start decaying after 3 seconds, but using another ability will reset the timer. In fact, those 75 total shields you can gain from using both abilities are immediately given to you upon using Venture's ultimate ability, Tectonic Shock. Tectonic Shock is one hell of an ultimate, dealing 130 damage per each of the 4 charges you get with it, with a rate of fire 1.11 shots per second, and an overall duration of 7 seconds. This is an ultimate that can tear through a lot of opponents, made easier by its damn good 24.65 meter radius. And you know what? It also happens to be one of the few ultimates that Summer's Hack or EMP can't stop entirely, though both will still disable Venture's other abilities, which can still be used while the ult is active. The ult will also automatically reload Venture's ammo too, but you will not be able to use the primary fire again until the ult's ended, either after the 7 seconds or upon using all 4 charges. This is what you'll hear upon an allied Venture using their ult.
Plotting out the dig site.
And this is what you'll hear upon an enemy Venture using their ult.
Excavation initiation.
There are a couple of downsides to the ultimate, however. The main one is that it can only be used on the ground, meaning if you try to use one of the charges in midair, it won't go off until you next touch the ground. On the plus side though, you will fall faster if a charge is triggered midair, so there can be some tactical use for it. And the other downside is Shock won't go through shields like Reinhardt's Battlefield or Winston's Barrier Projector, and they are also stopped by May's Ice Wall and Life Weaver's Tree of Life ultimate. In other words, you're going to need open space to make the ult work, and even then, it's only hitting targets on the ground. Despite its flaws, Tectonic Shock is incredible on its own, but it's even better when combined with other ultimates. Of course, there are the obvious candidates such as tank ults like Zaya's Graviton Surge or Reinhardt's Earth Shredder, or support ults like Anna's Nano Boost or Kiriko's Kitsune Rush. Both together make for an insane combination, by the way. But there are also some more niche combo opportunities. Like, how about with Cassidy's High Noon? One charge of Shock would vastly speed up the charge rate of High Noon when it comes to the tank heroes, or how about with Iliari and her Captive Sun ultimate? One charge is enough to trigger the explosion, so communicate with your Peruvian Sun Goddess and wreak havoc. As you can tell from me going through their entire kit, Venture is a combat-orientated close combat heavy hero, harnessing a playstyle similar to a few other damage heroes, namely Reaper. Their kit puts a heavy focus on pushing, and because of this, they are likely to struggle with getting pushed when defending on escort and hybrid maps, for example. There's also the matter of counters to Venture, such as any hero that can fly to stay in the air for an extended period, like Farah, Echo and Mercy. Ranged heroes like a majority of the cast, but specifically sniper heroes like Ana, Ash or Widowmaker. And as mentioned already, any hero with some kind of shield, so your Macho, Reinhardt, Sigma, Winston, and even Brigitte. To be fair though, a lot of these only become a problem when Venture's ult is active, but it's always good to keep in mind. Matchup strengths though, there's quite a bit of overlap here, namely in the shield hero department due to Venture's close combat orientated kit, working well into the ones that have to hold their shield up to protect from damage, so Reinhardt and Brigitte. Others include D.Va because Venture can get past defense matrix with their abilities, low health heroes like Tracer, and heroes with limited maneuverability like Zenyatta. Honestly, Venture's decently well versed in matches, but I was more talking ones they hard counter. Venture's kit is a powerful one, no doubt, but it has its glaring weaknesses. Like the need to be up close to do any significant damage, one that speaks for itself honestly, but those flaws are what makes Venture. To be real, I wasn't a big fan of Sojourn on a release, and I don't really think much of her today, probably because I'm washed mind you, but when it comes to Venture, I have a similar feeling like the one I had way back with Echo in early 2020 upon her release. Venture's fun. Super fun. I think the devs did a super solid job with finally giving us a new damage hero after so long, with an eccentric and fun personality, not to mention boatloads of charm, and an incredibly fun close combat playstyle that I adore so much. Recency bias can be a bitch sometimes, so maybe my thoughts will change in time, but considering I still feel positive about Mana and even still about Iliari, I kinda don't see my opinion about Venture changing anytime soon. Good luck out there, heroes.